Misophonia by M.A. Perry. I know, everybody does it. Chewing, that is. Everybody has to do it. We all have to eat to live. But let me ask you, do people need to chew with their mouths open? Teeth click-clacking together, mixed with sounds of saliva sucking and swishing as the food makes its way to the back teeth for the grinding before that final gulp. And then it starts all over again for 5, 10, 15, and even 20 minutes on repeat. Click, clack, swish, grind, gulp. Oh, and the food particles flying out as they talk and talk. Oh, I love cats. Do you like cats? Oh, for the love of God. I've stormed out of several restaurants, leaving dates to pick up the tab, grinding my teeth on the way home to release the hot rage built up in my chest. I hate when the noises make me grind my teeth. The office I work in is small. There are about 20 of us, plus the manager and owner. It's a typical 9 to 5 with an hour lunch break. That's right, an entire hour dedicated to eating. And woohoo! Wouldn't you know, the owner thinks all of us eating lunch together in our small break room is good for company morale. Every once in a while I can escape. Oh, I scheduled a doctor's appointment. My ex-wife Karen needs me to pick up the kids. I'm having some rather bothersome bowel movements. But you can only use those excuses so many times before your boss realizes you're skipping lunch. And according to our owner Darius, breaking bread together creates strong bonds, and strong bonds lead to strong teamwork. There's nowhere to hide in the break room. I at least try to sit by the closed-mouth eaters, the quiet ones. That's usually Terry, Lisa, and James. They chew with their mouths closed, never talk with food in their mouth, and eat quickly. We have pleasant conversations after we're done eating. Typical office banter. The weather, a popular show we're watching, the occasional airing of personal issues. But during the lulls in the conversation, I hear the others. Idiots chewing open-mouthed, talking. Johnson gulping down a bottle of water, gurgling and choking on it as he laughed. Rose slurping soup with no regard, splish-splashing droplets on the table. Kyle, crunching away on his chips, crumbs at the corner of his mouth and cascading down his shirt. The anger boils hot and heavy in my chest as I try to block out the eating noises consuming the room. I grind my teeth, and the tightness in my chest releases a little. I hate when the noises make me grind my teeth. Every Friday, Darius insists we have a shareable dessert. One person from the office bakes or picks up one dessert for us, and everybody has one. This was my least favorite time because we'd all stand in a circle, some share the positive energy bullshit, and eat the dessert standing up and talking. Most were lazy and would bring cookies, crumbly, loud cookies. Did you know cookies make a crunch sound? They do when everyone is eating them open-mouthed, talking, spewing all around them. I can usually avoid the shareable dessert circle. I make excuses about my workload and wanting to finish up before the weekend. And Darius thinks I'm working really hard, but really I just can't stand the sound of all the chewing. Yesterday, a Thursday, Darius stopped by, patting me on the shoulder. "Jesse!" I turned and high-fived him, a smile on my face. Darius didn't usually chew with his mouth open. Occasionally, he talked with his mouth full, but overall I really liked the guy. He was a good boss. "So, I noticed you haven't brought a dessert on a Friday before. How's that?" I stiffened. Any food discussion usually made me uncomfortable. I could hear the faint clacking of teeth in my mind. "Oh, I gave mine to Terry a few times. I'm not big on desserts. I tried to act casual, but I knew what was coming. I did notice that. Tomorrow is going to be Terry, but how about you bring something in? I know it's short notice, but you could just swing by and get something from the store. I wouldn't even mind if you picked it up tomorrow morning and were a few minutes late, he said, obviously pleased with himself that he was being a lenient boss. I started to protest, but he clapped me on the back and looked directly at me. You know how I feel about breaking bread together, and if our bond is strong, our work will be stronger. He let out a laugh and walked away with a short wave of his hand and shouted, "Make me some money!" over his shoulder. On the way home, I stopped by the store, wandering the aisles. I began to fantasize about Johnson choking to death on his water, Rose's soup burning her throat and windpipe so badly she couldn't swallow and died from lack of oxygen. Kyle's chips being so sharp they cut his mouth and down his esophagus, the blood welling up and bubbling out of his mouth until he bled out. None of these scenarios were realistic, of course, but it would end the gurgling, slurping, and crunching of the three amigos. Then I had an idea. I could end the sounds myself. I smiled as I finished picking just the right ingredients for my dessert. Friday's lunch came quickly, and I excitedly brought the cupcakes I baked into the lunchroom. I bet you think my idea was to poison the office. Oh, you evil little genius, you. What a grand idea that is. But no. As I mentioned, I like my boss. And Terry, Lisa, James were the few in the office I could stand eating around. No, I didn't add poison. I just ground up sleeping pills into the icing. I don't know how much I put in. I put a lot, just to make sure. Once my colleagues were all passed out, I began my work. The first person I did was Johnson, the gurgling idiot. I used pliers to wiggle and pull each tooth back and forth until they ripped away from the gum one by one. That worked until I got to the back teeth, the grinders. At first I tried the pliers, but the blood made it too slippery to grab on. I began to panic, but then I remembered we kept a box cutter in the storage room for delivered office supplies. The blade was a little dull, but with enough force, I was able to slice down deep into the gums and dig each of them out. The next few were easier, and by the sixth person, I was feeling like a pro. I hesitated when I got to Terry, Lisa, and James. After all, they never chewed with their mouths open, never crunched their chips or slurped their soup. But I figured they'd thank me. After all, they were quiet chewers like me. They'll be happy I made them even quieter. It took a little over an hour to get through all of them, and only one person woke up. It was Rose. I had to cut her throat to keep her from screaming. I couldn't have her waking up the others. I'd be lying if I said I wasn't happy that sloppy, slurping bitch was gone. After all, what I was doing wouldn't stop all the noises, and unfortunately, slurping was one I'd still have to deal with. Better to have the noisiest offender out of the picture. I think the rest of my coworkers will be waking up soon. But there's one more person I need to finish. Even though I've chewing-proofed my office, there are still millions of people in the world. And if we're being realistic, Darius probably won't let me keep my job. I took his teeth without asking, after all. He'll realize it was for the best later, but I have bills to pay, so I'll have to find a job until he calls me back. Until then, the employees at my new job will most certainly have teeth, and probably chew with their mouths open. The anger will build, and I'll grind and grind and grind. I hate when the noises make me grind my teeth. I decided I'll start with my wisdom teeth first. I've learned it's easier to cut them out when there isn't blood from the rest. Plus, I figure if I pass out before I finish, at least those will be gone, and I won't be able to grind my teeth anymore.